Am I the a-hole for forcing my pregnant wife to be taken care of by her brother-in-law while I go on a trip? Original post. So first off, my wife and I are not in the best place right now. This is in part due to her decision to be a surrogate for sister and brother-in-law. I did not agree with this. The current issue is not about that, though it is related. I was recently promoted, and with the promotion, me and my family are invited on a retreat. It is an all-expenses-paid trip. I told my wife about the trip and she was really excited about it, and so are our kids. My wife brought up the trip with her doctor though, and was told that since she is expecting twins, she should not fly after 20 weeks. She will be 24 weeks by the time of the trip, and there is no way for us to go besides flying. The doctor said with how she is progressing, there is a chance she might have to be put in bed rest by then as well. Because of that, my wife doesn't want me to go either, since she says she'll need me here to take care of her. I would be able to since I have the option to work from home. I, however, still want to go on a trip, and so do our kids. So my thinking is that, since the baby is theirs, my sister-in-law and her husband should have to be the ones to take care of my wife. I talked to them about this idea and it was not well received, because my sister-in-law and her husband do not live close by. So one of them would have to come and stay here to take care of her, which means one of them would have to take a week off from work. They apparently are scrambling to save every penny they can since they spent all their savings getting my wife pregnant, and we're not expecting twins. My sister-in-law said if I was really going to abandon my pregnant wife, they would figure it out and take care of her. However, because of the money issue, it means her husband would be the one taking care of my wife since my sister-in-law makes more money than him. It would be very detrimental to them if she took a week off, but they could make do without his paycheck if they had to. To me, it seems like a good enough solution, but wife is upset because she says I'm putting her in the uncomfortable position of being taken care of by her brother-in-law when she's in a vulnerable state. Of course, nobody's thinking he's going to do anything to her. She is just uncomfortable because he's a man, and she would rather he not look after her. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. The issue is precisely that she is surrogating against your wishes. What was the decision-making process you went through? In situations like this, there is no compromise. One wins. But it's how you got there. That she wants you and the kids to change plans because of this suggests she won more by default than process. This was a decision that profoundly affects all of you, especially since you've been through this with your own and no pregnancy. No, her choice, her consequence. Go and enjoy yourself, and when you get back, get into marital therapy. That she doesn't see all of this suggests this one doesn't have a long shelf life otherwise. There wasn't any decision-making process that I was a part of. I was told it was none of my business. Perfect. Then taking care of her now is none of your business. Take your kids and enjoy your trip, and when you get back, rethink your whole marriage. Not a-hole. Your wife agreed to be a surrogate without you being on board with the idea? Frankly, you have much bigger problems to face than whether to go on this trip. I know. Like I said, things aren't great right now to begin with. Not a-hole. I'm sorry she just did that without even a discussion. As a female, a mom and a partner, this is awful to me. It also really bothers me that these people are like, "Whoa, we have to take care of the person carrying our babies." So what are they gonna do when the babies are here? Drop them with your wife? Leave them with a nanny all the time? Hang on, this isn't just about one trip. If she might need to be put on bed rest at 24 weeks, doesn't that leave a whole 16 weeks that she's going to need a carer? And they think you should be doing that? Yeah, time for the wife to go live with a sister and brother-in-law. What a mess. Now for the mini update. I go offline for a bit to take care of some things and I come back to all these comments. Thank you all for helping not feel so crazy or, I don't know, alone in this. I do realize now that this is the end of the road for us. I probably should have realized that sooner. So right now, I'm just going to start preparing for that and try to make this process as easy as possible for our kids. Next story. Am I the a-hole for dumping my girlfriend who left her husband for me? I was in a friends with benefit relationship with a woman. I didn't know that she was married. She told me that they were separated. I started catching feelings for her and I confessed that I want to build a future with her. And she came next day to my doorstep and told me that she wants to move in with me as her ex is making her divorce difficult. I was like, sure. First few weeks were good. She would clean and cook for me. Then she started messing with my things, telling me where to put my keys, how I go out whenever I want, etc. She became irritating and eggy, so I lost feelings for her and kicked her out. She started begging me to give her another chance, that she will not bother me and how she left her husband for me. Turns out they were not separated. She was cheating on that poor sod with me. I told her to kick rocks and never contact me again. She's now spreading rumor that I love bombed her. that I somehow manipulated her into cheating with me. Her husband is not letting her get back and is going for full custody on grounds for abandonment. I don't blame him, but I do think he's overreacting, although it's none of my business. She has been harassing me in social media, blaming me for stringing her along and using her for fun. I used her for fun, as much as she used me the same. I didn't love bomb her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You may want to make a post about how it really went down. Public embarrassment can be a way to get her to stop harassing you. I agree. At least respond with, if I had known you were still married, I never would have gone out with you or slept with you. Then block her on all platforms. Yep, tell the story that she told you she was separated and going through a divorce. In fact, post your Reddit post to her social media. Then block. I don't blame him, but I do think he's overreacting, although it's none of my business. She's spreading lies about you on social media after deceiving you as well as her husband. Yet you think her husband is someone who overreacts? Trust me, if you think you've seen the worst of her in just a short period of time, then you should take into account how much he has had to deal with after being married for a while and having kids with her. You are probably just the last straw. Consider setting the record straight on social media, as her lies could affect you negatively. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but a bit crappy. She literally ditched her kids to move in with this random guy. That's abandonment. Him calling the husband filing for custody on grounds for abandonment overreacting is horrible. No, he didn't know. He does now. No, he didn't ask her to leave her kids, but saying it's overreactive is crappy. It's not overreaction. It's the definition of abandonment. Leaving your kids for nearly a month to move in with your new boyfriend is abandonment. She was cheating on her husband with you and used you when she was kicked out by her husband. Why would you give a chance to a cheater? If she did that to her husband, she will probably do the same to you. She even lied to you about her relationship with her husband. She only wants to get back together with you because she needs a place to stay. Just block her and go no contact with her. She is a troubled person and it's not your responsibility. Just learn your lesson and avoid making the same mistake in the future. Next story. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my wife after she got an abortion? My 27 male and wife 27 female have been together for 4.5 years and married for 2. We've discussed kids before marriage and both agreed that we wanted kids. A couple weeks after we got married, we started trying for a baby and she got pregnant, but was having doubts about kids at the time. We discussed it a bit and she said she didn't feel ready yet. I didn't push back and let her make the decision since she's the one who's pregnant. 3 weeks ago, she got pregnant again. I was excited, but she still wasn't sure. She said she wanted to wait a little longer, and I tried asking her for a timeline, but she just said when she feels ready, she'd let me know. I asked her if she still wants kids at all, and she gave me a non-answer where she said she doesn't know if she wants kids anymore and wouldn't elaborate. I didn't want to pressure her to do anything, but I told her that I want to have kids and that I need to rethink our relationship if this is the route she wants to go. She got the procedure and I started the divorce proceedings a few weeks later. Some of our mutuals are saying I was wrong to separate because of this, and she's called me a few times sobbing. I really want to be with her, but having kids and starting a family is really important to me, and it feels like she's been too unsure and unclear with what she wants and has been stringing me along in the process. Edit? Sorry, I should have clarified that the second time she got pregnant, we weren't actively trying because she hadn't said she's ready after the first termination. Now for the top comments. Yeah, definitely not the a-hole. This relationship ain't gonna work out. You both want different things. Just end it and move on and find someone that actually does want what you want. Her not wanting kids is okay, but what's not okay is her stringing you along with non-answers and awful communications just to keep you with her. Exactly. OP didn't force his will on her and didn't judge the choice to terminate the pregnancy. But when she couldn't be clear on a timeline, failed to communicate in addition to having the second termination, OP is right to think their future plans may not be aligned. Reddit has seen plenty of women who have been strung along until it's too late to have babies. Here he is willing to do something about it. She has the right to terminate, he has the right to leave as a result. Not the a-hole. It seems she doesn't want kids but wanted to keep you. No, you're not the a-hole. Wanting kids or not is a fundamental incompatibility. Obviously you aren't compatible. How many terminations do your friends expect you to go through? Are you not allowed to feel betrayed that you entered a marriage assuming you shared common goals only to find out she lied? I question the mindset of a woman who actively tries to get pregnant and then changes her mind twice. I think it's a good thing not to have kids with someone like that. This isn't normal behavior. You're doing the right thing, not the a-hole. A friend of mine from school was adopted as a kid. It turns out his bio father was a successful lawyer/judge in California. His bio mom was a popular artist. They are both still married to each other. But they had had 3 kids and then decided 4 was too many and gave him up for adoption. Then they had another and decided to keep it. So basically it was just him they didn't want. Initially, this made him feel like crap. But then he met his bio siblings and they were all like, "Thank your lucky stars you got out of this family." It was a crazy circus. No kid wants to be unwanted. It's like you said, anyone with a wife's mindset shouldn't be a parent. Something is off about her. At least she realizes it and didn't parent a kid. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I broke up with my boyfriend for not proposing? So I, female 27, have been with my boyfriend, male 25, for 3 years next month. He is the best boyfriend I've ever had, and this is the best and healthiest relationship I've ever had with anyone. I haven't had many relationships, but this is by far the best one. There are so many things I love about him, and I know that he loves me just as much if not more. When we first started dating, I told him that I was dating to marry. I know exactly what I want, and I have a timeline for it. I wanted to be married for a little while before I have kids, and I want to have kids no later than 35 years old. I want this for a multitude of reasons, not the least of which is avoiding high-risk pregnancy. I've experienced personal loss, my 4-month-old baby sister due to genetic complications that were likely associated with my mother's geriatric pregnancy. Pregnancies are considered geriatric and higher risk once the woman is 34 or older. We've had many talks about this throughout the years, as this is something that is important to me, and he knows that. All that being said, I am turning 28 this year. He's 26 this month. Time is flying, and I feel like I'll be 30 next week. I really don't want to be his or anyone's girlfriend for more than 4 or 5 years. And as we approach our 3rd year and move towards our 4th year, I would really like to be engaged pretty soon. He said that he wants to marry me, but it's always someday or not anytime soon. When I ask him what he sees for us in the next year or 2, he says that he wants us to be living together, which gives me hope because he knows that I have no interest in living with a significant other unless we are at least engaged. But at the same time, he also wants to move out of his parents' house and live on his own for a while before we actually live together. I totally respect the fact that he may not be at a point in his life where he is ready to take the next step of engagement, and I don't want to push him or give him an ultimatum. However, I do want to do what's best for myself at the end of the day, no matter how much I love him and I love our relationship. I love him, and I know that us breaking up would destroy him, but at the same time, I don't want to put my own life on hold and my health at risk in the future solely to spare his feelings. I'm torn on what to do, and a big part of me feels like I would be a gigantic a-hole for this. And so, I ask for the court of public credit's opinion. Would I be the a-hole for breaking up with him if we're not engaged within the next year? I would be more than happy to get back with him if we did break up and he decided he wanted to get married. I love him and I want to be with him, but I also want to do what is in my own best interest for my future. Edit? Okay, I didn't think this would get so much attention and I haven't even read all the comments, and I just want to clear a few things up. 1. I'm not super rigid in this timeline. I know life happens the way it's gonna happen regardless of what we plan. The only thing I'm the least willing to compromise on is when I have kids. Among the health risks, I also just don't want to be pushing 40 and pushing out a baby for the first time, and I want at least 2 kids. 2. Some of you guys are mean and sad a-holes, but a lot of you have given great advice and mirrored a lot of thoughts I was already having. I think I'm going to wait until our anniversary before I have yet another talk with him about not just what I want, but what he wants and when he wants it. He's not irresponsible at all, but he has the freedom and safety net, his parents, to allow him the freedom to try things and mess up, etc. I do not. He's also not on clock like I am. 3. I'm not pressuring him. I'm not manipulating him. We wouldn't be together if that were the case. He's not stupid and does not want to tolerate that nonsense from anyone including me, and I would never. I have too much love and respect, and frankly, I'm just not a piece of turd. 4. I most certainly have communicated everything in this post to him, clearly and in full. He knows what I want and I have an idea of what he wants. I've always made sure to make all my intentions clear with him, because I do have a tendency to expect people close to me to just know or pick up on hints and things, and I just really didn't want that frustration and confusion in my relationship. You wouldn't be the a-hole for expressing your need for a clear plan in marriage. Open communication is key. If your priorities don't align, it's okay to consider your own well-being. I agree. And also, what's his plan? What is the reasoning for still living at home? Is he working, saving money toward his future with you? If he contributes to the household monetarily and or chores-wise, that's a good sign that he's acting like an adult. Is he just there for a free ride and spending his money in a way that doesn't build toward his future with you? Like, what's his plan? Because him saying someday, not anytime soon, feels like he doesn't have a plan. maybe doesn't take your timeline seriously, and is ultimately stringing you along for the benefits. If it's staying with his parents but saving a significant amount of money for the future, then I think it is okay. If his income is plain money, that's a really bad sign. Delayed gratification is something to look for in a long-term partner. The same for things like laundry. Is his mom doing all of the laundry or is he doing his own? Does he know how to cook and clean? Update. I'm about to sue my late wife's family, and it makes me sick. Original story. My wife died suddenly in an accident that critically injured our son. Suffice it to say, along with being shattered, the whole matter has me rather preoccupied. Her family arrived rather quickly and took charge of a lot of things, especially the funeral. It was helpful because my focus needed to be on my son. I was pretty much a guest at my own wife's funeral, because although I was there for a brief while, it was on a day when my son was scheduled for a rather serious procedure, and so my time was divided. All the while, I could hear Suzanne, my wife, in my mind telling me to take care of Zach and not worry about the formalities. So I basically just gave my in-laws my checkbook. I'm not complaining about that. What happened next is different. They wanted to take some of her things. And of course, I understood the value in them having a keepsake of their sister/daughter. I would never have said no. But they took everything. Keep in mind, I wasn't there. My younger son wasn't in the house at the time either. The next time I was home, I realized that they basically cleaned the house out of everything they thought was hers, including photo books. Hours before this, my wife's older sister even went so far as to say she wanted to take PJ, my younger son, saying I needed time and that he would be better with them. I shut that down before she ever finished the idea, though I tried not to let my anger show. In the immediate, my feeling was, I'm not going to deal with this right now. I simply didn't have the time or bandwidth to deal with it then. Not long after, my wife's sister called asking about several pieces of jewelry, claiming them as heirlooms to the family. That prompted me to recall a safe deposit box that my wife kept. I never thought we needed it. When I went to close it out, I found the jewelry. They're not getting the jewelry, but also among the papers, I found that she had a will. It wasn't formal, but it was detailed, and I later learned that it is enforceable. Key to note, my brother-in-law, after learning that his wife took such things as our photo books, demanded that she return them. She refused. My lawyer has been communicating with me constantly since the accident. There are so many details, and I had already given him the will. When I told him that my sister-in-law refused to return the property, which rightfully belongs to our children, he told me he would make a written request for all items to be returned to the executor, me, in order that they can be distributed in accordance to her wishes, and asked me to make a list. This was over a month ago. Today, I get a reply from some attorney stating effectively that I had given them permission, and so all items questioned were gifts. Are you freaking kidding me? This reply came through my lawyer, wherein he said, now we play hardball. He said he'll seek an order, though I'm not sure if that requires a trial. Did I meet with him next week? I would be passive at the shadow of all this mess if it meant protecting my boys from a family upset. But a line has been crossed. I want my sons to have a good relationship with their mother's family. That's paramount, and I would do whatever it took to ensure that. Now we're about to get into a legal dispute, and things are likely to go badly. My last communication was with my mother-in-law, where she lost her mind on me. We had always been close, so this is all so strange to me. She was making demands that were unreasonable. The call ended abruptly when I explained that the boys were my children, that I would decide what is in their best interest, and suggest that she not test me because I'm done playing. I don't need this crap. I buried the love of my life. I'm dealing with the after effects of the accident. I am doing everything I can to bring my son back to good. And now I have to deal with this? Thing is, people manage grief differently. I get that. I respect that. These are not bad people. They are simply behaving badly. But I can't allow it. I haven't told the boys about any of this yet. I hope I won't have to. More than once, one of them asked where this or that is, and I told them that their aunts barred them. Who does this? Seriously. Anyway, I have nobody to yell at, but I really don't want to kick the dog. I love the dog, so I'm just venting again here. Thanks for giving me a place to do that. Now for the top comments before reading the update. You are 100% justified, and I hope you get them in court. That's some BS. I'd be doing exactly what you were doing. This makes me so mad. We had the same issue when my brother died. People stealing things, saying they wanted to be in his room one last time. We did, however, take all the valuables out before people came by. But those sentimental things, those are worth more than money. Get those people. You know, I'm actually glad to hear your anger because it makes me feel more justified in my own. This really is wrong. It's not just me. My aunt did that when my grandmother died. She just showed up with boxes and tried to take everything. My mom stepped in and luckily stopped a chunk of it. One day she came back when mom wasn't around. I was only 11, so I couldn't do much. But I watched her go through the apartment and she would say, "Oh, I like that," knowing my grandfather would just let her have it. Freaking vulture. I'm very sorry for your loss. People suck. You're doing the right thing. How dare they? You shouldn't belong to them. You're entitled to her memory too. If all the heartless and sensitive things to do. I've heard of people hiding all of the deceased things and rug sweep their grief, but to have that done to you against your will? That is absolutely belittling to the values you played in your family. My blood is molten on your behalf. I wish you luck. Thank you. She was my family. She belonged to me and to our sons. We were her family by choice, and our boys are entitled to everything she wanted them to have. These people are about to figure that out. They're messing with the wrong guy. I hope your son is doing well. He is, and thank you for asking. He's doing better every day. And now for the update. After my wife died suddenly, I vented here about how her family came through and took her belongings. The reaction from the sub was more than I expected, and was appreciated. A lot of folks here were pissed in my behalf. Many asked that I update, and so I am. I had a long and reasonably deep discussion with Suzanne's mother and sisters earlier today. They speak to the boys, my sons Zach and PJ, on occasion, and actively seek the connection. I haven't spoken to them in a while, and haven't proceeded with any additional action since the initial request through my attorney that they return her property, now my children's property. It was my wife's older sister's birthday a couple of days ago, and, for all that's happened, I still made sure to send her lilies. Suzanne sent her lilies every year. I guess I was looking to remain human through all this mess, but maybe rubbing their nose a little at the same time. Either way, this was the catalyst for her call today. We spoke for a minute or two, before she asked if I would speak to them all together on Zoom. They were actually standing by as we spoke, so I closed the door of my study and joined them online. As they popped up on my screen, I didn't say anything. I didn't show any emotion at all. This was their invitation, so I would just listen, and I had no idea what to expect. Her mother started a conversation by hitting the tough subject head-on, saying, "We have the request from your lawyer and we withdraw our answer. We want to comply with everything." Then her older sister added, "And we want to know how we can fix what we broke." For the hell I've been living over this? The relief of their words was enough. So I told them nothing needs to be broken. They asked me if I would listen, and of course I said I would. And for a while I did. I didn't say a word. They were orderly, if not rehearsed in their monologue, taking turns at affirming each other. Her mother explained that they were shattered after losing Suzanne, and that they seemed to come together as a pack. We've had some time since those first days and we've talked it through, and all of us realized that we weren't thinking, her younger sister said. Part of their grief was anger, they explained. They weren't angry with me, just angry in general. When they were at the house and picking a couple of items to keep, they just kept taking things. Her older sister explained that they were upset that, as Suzanne's husband, I controlled everything and everything defaulted legally to me. She said it shouldn't have upset them, acknowledging that's just how it is, but that they felt secondary. This was the only time I spoke, saying, "I never made you feel secondary. We just wanted her back," one of them said. "Without that, we just wanted everything we could have of her." They knew they were wrong, but being wrong only made it worse. They explained it like digging a hole and not being able to get out of it. "So we doubled down," one of them said. Her mother became emotional when she said, "I read the inscription on the box and realized that it wasn't Suzanne's, but that she had it made for you." She then said she didn't mean to take it. But the inscription she speaks of is carved on the inside lid of a small decorative box that Suzanne gave me years ago. It reads, "Still and after all." She always said that to me, especially after I would drive her crazy. Whenever it got Suzanne mad, I'd ask if she loved me. She always said, "Still and after all." Anyone would know that the box means a great deal to me. The upshot is that my brother-in-law will be returning everything next weekend. Her mother emphasized everything. He'll be driving down and my sister-in-law asked if it might be possible for him to stay over, given that it's a long ride. I told her that Anthony should always consider this his home, and they should too. When they finished, it was my turn. I didn't say much. I didn't want to say a lot. I only told them how much their decision meant to me and the boys. I explained that I understood everything they said. We were all out of our minds, I assured them. I'm relieved and yet cautious. I need some time to pass, but I'm hopeful that the relationship will heal going forward. I remember reading your original post. The fact you are mature and adult enough to hear them out for your kids' sake is commendable. If anybody came for my partner's stuff if she had passed, I'd be going King Kong on everybody that gets over the threshold. I'm super hyped for you that you got your wish though. Truly excellent news. Thank you. You might remember that I was on the verge. There was a lot of talk about scorched earth. I'm just so glad it's resolved. I'm glad for this update. Happy that they saw their actions were not right. I'm glad that they took a step back and regained their humanity. Godspeed and good luck. Wow. I haven't seen your original post, but reading this brought me to tears. Reconciliation is not something you see often these days. How big your hearts must be to have agreed to speak with them all on the spot. I'm so sorry for your loss, but I'm hopeful for your families moving forward and healing together. I read your original post, and it was heartbreaking and infuriating all at the same time. When you should have been seeking comfort with family members, they pushed you aside. To read today's post was wonderful, and I'm so glad they saw how hurtful their actions were. I hope that the relationship between you and her family survives all of this turmoil, for the sake of your children and you. Best of luck to all of you. I'm with you. I really do hope that this is something we can put a period on and move forward to better days. I'm thinking we all want that. And the best part, my boys still have no idea. I'm trying to keep it that way. Thank you. Now for the last story. Update. My ex-girlfriend passed, but her family barely contacts me that she had a baby. Original story. There's no doubt her son is 100% mine because we had a paternity test just to be sure. Anyways, my 27 male barely found this out weeks ago. The only reason we broke up is because I had to move back across the country last year to help my family after my dad died from COVID. Didn't want to do the long distance since I was gonna stay there working for a bit. She never told me anything. Her mom says she didn't want me to worry about her all the way over there when my dad's family needed me more, and that she was gonna tell me as soon as I was back. I moved back little a month ago. Only now I'm finding out not only that I lost her, they said there were complications when she gave birth, but we have a baby boy. Feeling a mix of stuff, and the worst part is, I can't talk to her about it because I wish she'd told me. Her mom says they've barely been managing with him. They need help with him, and so that's why she reached out to me once they learned I was back. Of course, he's mine and that's my responsibility. Still, it's hard not to panic. I'm still in shock about her death. Now I've got a son I need to take care of and didn't even get to be part of the first 2 months of his life. My family doesn't know about him yet. Hell, I still haven't met him yet. Her mom's only sent me pictures. He's beautiful. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I'm scared, sad, and pissed off for some reason. I'm nervous about meeting him, or how this is gonna go. Her parents will be around to help, but I know he'll be with me full-time for the most part. Really, any advice I'll really appreciate. From new parents or anyone, honestly. What the hell do I do about all these new changes? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I would look into your company's policy on parental leave, then start looking into childcare options such as whether the grandparents can help with that. Congrats on being a parent. Condolences on your loss. And you can do it. Are you listed on a birth certificate? If you aren't, then not only do you have no responsibilities, you have no rights either. It could be very dangerous for you to take over the care of this child if you are not listed as a parent. Anyway, sounds like a mess, but you can do it. Lots of single moms in the world do it all the time. I don't know where you are located, but there are all kinds of resources for new parents, single parents, etc. One of the best places to start is at the pediatricians. Good luck. Not yet, but we're gonna look into getting that taken care of. Her parents want to help out but can't have him full-time anymore. And now for the update. All the info and advice you guys gave in my original post meant a lot to me, so thanks for that. Some of you wanted an update. What can I say? Things have been chaotic. Finally met my son, and that was just a truckload of emotions hitting me all at once. Wasn't expecting it. My ex's mom had to take him for a minute because I was literally sobbing.
It wasn't because I didn't want to be his dad or anything. It's one of those moments where everything hits you at once and the only thing you can do is cry. She understood it though, and she cried with me. She's a sweet lady. One of those ladies that treats everyone like her child because of how caring she is. My son has my ex's nose and the shape of her eyes. That's what hit me more. Just because we broke up for the meantime while I was at my dad's didn't mean I stopped being in love with her. And now we have a baby together. Only she won't get to be here to share that family experience, and I miss her so much. Got to hold my son, introduced myself to him. Me and her mom talked about custody stuff. Already got a lawyer for that to make the process easier. So everyone's on the same page. They let me stay over, talked more about my ex, had a few beers with her dad. I stayed at their house a few days because honestly, I was still terrified of being left alone with my son because I had no clue what to do with him. They were both really kind and patient about showing me how to change his diapers, feedings, how to give him a bath, rock him to sleep, how to install the car seat in my car without throwing it on the floor. Her parents were nice enough to let me spend the night, so every time he woke up, I'd be there, either to watch her how she does everything, then I started doing it. He's been with me almost 2 weeks at my place. Got mostly all of his stuff with me. Looking for a 2-bedroom, but for now is sleeping in his bassinet in my room. It's been really hard. Especially the first night, I probably called her mom like 5 times within 2 hours because he would not stop crying. Then his pediatrician because I'm freaking out something might be wrong with him. Calming him down whenever he got fuzzy was my weak spot. Nothing I tried was working. Singing to him seemed to help a lot, walking around my apartment and rocking him nonstop. It's still not easy. At least now I'm feeling more confident that I can handle the crying and not freak out enough to call for help. Taking time off from work again so I can be here with him full time. I'm tired, stressed, still got a lot going on emotionally, but I'm also just happy when I'm holding him or making him smile. Honestly, the little stuff he does, even his cute little sneezes, makes me love him even more. Seems like he's starting to like me too. Almost everyone in my family has met him on Zoom. My mom's coming over to see him. She's offering to do babysitting once I go back to work in another few months, so that's one less thing to worry about. I just wish my dad would have had a chance to meet him. I know they would have been best friends, and it definitely spoiled my son so much. It is like my ex knew that too. So didn't know this until her parents gave me his birth certificate. But my ex wanted his middle name to be my dad's, so that was a nice surprise for me that he's got his grandpa's name too. I'm slowly adjusting to this new life. Not easy, but it makes it worth it. I want to be his dad and give him the best I can the way my dad did with me.
Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be my wife's backup plan? Original post. I, 34 male, wife 35 female. We have 3 kids and have been having marital problems for years. It reached a boiling point end of 2021 and we separated but got back together in 2022. Part of the condition of getting back together was that we attend therapy every 2 weeks for an entire year. We only ended up doing therapy for about 3 to 4 months, and my wife said she wasn't getting anything out of it. I didn't see the point in going so often. We both disliked the therapist, so I agreed, and we had noticed that things were getting better, so we were working on it on our own. The reasons we went to therapy and why we were having problems were A, she was not attracted to me at all anymore. B, she didn't want me touching her. She felt repulsed by my touch. I didn't want hugs/kisses/cuddling or any type of affection. C, she wants to explore her sexuality with other people, men or women. We've been together since our early teens and have only been with each other. D, she wanted to be alone. She had this feeling that she would be happier by herself. Things were getting better until a few days ago. I found an old confession she had written out from 18 years ago when a mutual friend kissed her. That was supposed to have been the entire story, but it details how much she liked the attention, and she actually pulled him into another room and kissed him. It didn't go any further than that, but I was still reeling. I asked her about it, and she said it was so long that she didn't really remember, but we're married and she's been faithful for the entire time, and we have a life together. I said okay, and it would take me a little bit to get over it, but our marriage wasn't in jeopardy and I just needed some time to adjust. Friday night, she told me a mutual guy friend who she was talking to has some issues, said they weren't going to be talking anymore. She was using my wife as an emotional support crutch, and his therapist suggested he stop leaning on her so much. I didn't like how much they chatted, but never voiced this. I asked her if there was more to this, and she confessed that he's been saying I love you for a while, and on Monday made a joke about how he liked her behind. All she said was, "Dude, come on," and he apologized. But I was upset that she didn't shut that down or draw a boundary. He was also asking her to hang out just the two of them, and she said no. Yesterday was a special anniversary for us and I wasn't in a good mood. We went for a walk and she kept asking me what was wrong, so I told her. I said, I'm upset about the cheating situation. I'm upset that you didn't set clear boundaries and shut his advances down sooner. And I'm upset that I keep planning for activities for anniversaries for years, and she couldn't be bothered to plan anything for today. As we were walking, I noticed she was starting to cry, and so we sat down on a bench. I asked her what was wrong, and she basically told me she still wants to explore things with other people. She likes the attention she gets from other men. She still wants to be alone, and she's still repelled by my touch, and has been pretending for a year, but doesn't want any physical affection from me whatsoever. She says she doesn't want to lose me or the life we've built, so we agreed to go back into therapy. But after thinking about it last night, I'm not sure if I want to continue. She's lied about so much, and I feel like I'm just her safety net. I'm waiting for her to decide to end the marriage because she wants to sleep with other people or just be alone, and I don't think it's fair for me to be a backup plan. I apologize for the length of the post, but felt full context was needed. Would I be the a-hole if I asked a divorce even though we agreed to go to therapy? Edit. For those people who have messaged me to ask, I'd like to clarify a couple things. 1. We both share responsibilities for the house. We both do dishes, laundry, cleaning, taking care of the kids, and don't have any problems communicating household tasks. I'm not some fat, negligent husband who sits on his butt and lets her watch the kids and cook and clean. 2. The reason I wanted to stop therapy with this therapist was my wife was chatting with a coworker and the message went inappropriate. I was fixing a backup phone that our kids used at work when I saw the messages pop up. I asked her about them and she gaslit me. She had already deleted them and told me they didn't exist. When I told her I saw them on the other phone, she apologized and confessed and stopped talking to the coworker. When I told the therapist this, she brushed it off and made it seem like it was my fault, and I realized she only had my wife's interest at heart and not mine. 3. My wife has always had validation issues. She loses all common sense when someone else compliments her or gives her attention. I've tried for 20 years to be enough for her, but she finds other people's comments to be better. 4. Why am I still here? Despite everything, I absolutely love my wife with all of my heart. We have 3 children who I don't want to lose 50% of my time with, which will happen if we go shared custody. She is the most beautiful woman I've ever laid my eyes on, and she still makes me weak. 3 kids and 20 years later. I'm going to get a lot of insults of this, but this is the hardest decision of my life, and I don't want to live without her. I understand that for my own value and self-respect, I might have to, but it's incredibly hard. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Would not be the a-hole. You do deserve to be married to someone who isn't repulsed by you. I commend the attempt at therapy, but you're going to therapy to change your wife's mind about her attraction to you and desire for other men's affections. You went to therapy for 3 to 4 months, and your wife said she wasn't getting anything out of it because she doesn't want to change her mind. So what, you're going to sit around hoping she does? I'm not even sure that's an appropriate use for therapy. I'm sorry you're experiencing this. Not the a-hole, and I wish you all the best. Not the a-hole. I'd be out. She's a cake eater. I'm no one's backup or plan B. You don't deserve that either. I used to think that every relationship has a reacher and a settler, and you were always going to be one or the other. You just had to decide which you'd rather be. If you had asked me a few years ago, I would have been confident that that was just reality. Then I met my wife and was so happy to find out that I was wrong. I can't even express how good it feels when both people are wholeheartedly invested and attracted. I feel really bad for Opie because I don't think there is any way to fix this relationship. If Opie's wife is that far gone, I can't see how her feelings could reverse enough to make this work. Now for the update. Just wanted to update everyone who sent me messages, who were interested, and who offered advice. I read through over 1,000 posts over 2 days, and last night I had a conversation with my wife. I wrote it down on my phone and asked her to listen to it and not interrupt, and we can talk after. Start of the note. I don't know what you thought you were going to accomplish by telling me that you are repelled by my touch. You want to explore your options with other men and women and want to be alone. I think you thought if you were just being honest, it was right and okay. But it showed me just how little respect you have for me. I don't think you realize just how insulting and disrespectful everything you said is. You do not consider my feelings at all. You seek validation from other men and never set any proper boundaries until either I find out or a line has been crossed. I literally cannot remember a time in 20 years where you have said, stop, This is inappropriate, and I don't think it should go any further. You let mutual friend tell you he loved you and liked your behind, and you weren't even the one to stop communication. He was. His therapist could tell the conversation wasn't healthy. I could tell the conversation wasn't healthy, but you couldn't. You either don't respect me enough to put my feelings ahead of your own need for validation, or you simply don't care. I can't fix this, and you don't seem to want to fix this. I have been there for you for 20 years. I have never wavered in my love for you, my affection, my devotion, but you can't say the same. You clearly think you're missing out on something, and think exploring that in the arms of another person will fill that hole inside of you, but it won't. All it will do is leave you completely and entirely alone. Our family will be gone, I will be gone, and you will have nothing at all because you think the grass might be greener on the other side. I can't imagine a person who has a loving husband who cares for them, respects them and thinks the world of them, who has 3 beautiful kids, a great support network, good friends, and a loving family, that thinks if they abandon their entire life for some fleeting new experience, they will be fulfilled. You used me, plain and simple. I'm a safety net for you. You can spend all the time in the world trying to figure yourself out, and you'll have a safe spot to come home to. Not a partner, not someone you treat as a husband, but someone you lie to, lead them on, and take advantage of. I'm not a fallback. I am not a safety net. I'm a person who absolutely deserves love, touch, romance, and admiration. I deserve respect and reciprocation. I want to be clear that I absolutely think you not telling me about these issues and letting an entire year pass while letting me think things were improving and getting better is lying by omission. I will be attending therapy by myself to find out why I've been such a doormat, to figure out why I've tolerated such abuse and neglect from the person that was supposed to guard and protect me, who was supposed to share my life forever. I'm not at this time asking for a divorce, and provided you are not asking for one, things will need to move forward differently. You will need to attend therapy by yourself. After 6 months of both of us being in therapy, we can talk about doing couples therapy. You will stop seeking validation from other men. I do not want to police your conversations, but single men should not be people you talk daily with until you go through therapy and can clearly set boundaries and enforce them if they are broken. You have to win me back. You will have to woo me and get me to fall in love with you again. I expect romance and dates in our daily lives. The fact that I can't be romantic with you because you decided you didn't like it, but also decided that because you don't like romance, that I don't deserve it, is very selfish. I will not, under any circumstances, accept an open marriage. I don't ever want to hear of it again. I am not okay with you being sexual with men or women other than myself. Asking for monogamy shouldn't be that big of an ask. And if that truly is a deal breaker for you, I understand, and we can divorce and you can pursue other people. I acknowledge that some of what I'm saying is demanding, but I'm standing up for myself and what I want. I deserve better and will not settle for just enough any longer. If anything I've said here makes you want to say you are done, we can separate and file for divorce. We'll sell the house and agree upon a 50-50 custody agreement for the kids. I will never use the kids to hurt you, and will co-parent with you the absolute best of my abilities. Despite the harsh tone, I will still reiterate that I love you with all of my heart and want to spend my entire life with you, watching our children grow up together. But I will not be an afterthought anymore. I won't play second fiddle to an imaginary life you might want to pursue. End of note. One of the things she has always said to me when we have conversations is, I don't know if I'll ever be enough for you. She says this because she doesn't know if she can meet my expectations of what a good loving wife should be. I told her this time that, you may think you don't know if you can be enough for me, but right now I know I am not enough for you. We talked for a while, and she is going to therapy. We are going to work in our relationship. And while I know many, if not all of you think I should just divorce her right now, I can't just throw away 20 years without giving it my absolute all. I don't know if this will work out or not, but I thank each and every one of you for helping me find the strength to stand up for myself. It might not be the ending you wanted to see, but I am hopeful. Mate, I wish you all the best, but I would have divorce papers drawn up and ready to hand over at her at the drop of a hat. This dude is just too close to see it. The only avenue she has and will explore is cheating, if she doesn't want to lose the fallback option right away. The wife is not a loyal person or someone anyone sane wants around. She has made it clear what she wants and how she feels about you. OP leaving has a greater chance of getting her to see that she's in the wrong and realize she does have feelings for him than his attempt to regain control over his situation. I mean, I stuck around when my husband cheated, but not because I sincerely thought he'd change. I just knew myself well enough to know I'd always worry I hadn't tried hard enough. So I opted for one last chance for my own sanity. I have no regrets. I found my backbone and left on my terms, and that was best for me. It may be the same for Opie. I hope so at least. Maybe we all deal with our situations differently, and that might be Stepping Stool way of dealing with it. Putting myself in his shoes, it feels like he is giving himself a false sense of control and might get blindsided. Last story. Am I the a-hole for ending things with a girl because she was sleeping with other people even though it was before we were exclusive? I, 32 male, am fairly happy with the life I've built for myself. My career, hobbies, and platonic relationships are more than enough to keep me happy, and don't actively look for relationships or intimate partners, even though I do hope to get married someday. Of course, sometimes people do come into my life and we date or sleep together, but it's not an obsession like I see with most of my friends. Then I met Helen, 28 female, at a party through mutual friends, and we really hit it off. I asked her out, and we had a great first date, and ended up sleeping together. Things seemed to move relatively quick from there. We saw each other about 5 times in a span of 2 weeks after our first date, all the while texting and even having an occasional phone call. I won't lie, I felt like I was falling pretty hard for this girl. She was everything I could have imagined wanting in a life partner. Intelligent, independent, passionate, and kind. Not to mention gorgeous. Well, it all went south last week when she asked me if I was seeing anyone else. I told her of course not, and that I don't sleep with multiple people at the same time. But then I wondered about her, and she told me she had been seeing 2 other guys, but she wanted to be exclusive with me. I asked her if she had been sleeping with them, and she said yes. She had even slept with both of them at least once since we started dating. Once I gathered my thoughts, I told her I didn't want to see her anymore. Here I thought the feeling was reciprocated, but I found out I was just one of a few items on the menu for her. She started to get upset and told me that since we hadn't discussed exclusivity, she didn't owe me anything and that it was the whole point of this discussion. I told her that while she didn't owe me it, the fact that she didn't stop seeing those other guys on her own volition showed that either she didn't feel the same way about me as I did about her, or we have totally different ideas around sex and intimacy. She said she had dated so many guys in the past who wouldn't commit, so she didn't want to end up alone if I wouldn't be exclusive. I could feel the hurt she had gone through when she said this, but I guess I don't understand. Why keep around casuals, partners, if you want something serious? If she wasn't willing to take a risk for me and potentially get hurt because of her past experiences, I don't want to play the role of intimacy therapist. I didn't say this part to her though, so I told her my mind was made up, and she left in tears. Anyway, my friends pretty much dogpiled on me after hearing about it. They told me I was an a-hole and brought up a bunch of talking points about feminism and slut shaming. It seemed pretty unfair since I never tried to make Helen feel bad about herself. I just didn't think we were compatible, and it seemed better to end it then and there. Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. You're allowed to end any relationship for any reason if you're not comfortable continuing it. She's allowed to sleep with whoever she wants, and she's not in an established, agreed-upon monogamous relationship. Moving forward though, I would strongly recommend being very clear what your wants and relationship expectations are when you are dating though, as expecting mutual exclusivity in a relationship when you have not discussed that expectation is just setting yourself and someone else up for a fall. Yeah, you should have had that talk with her after being intimate with her the first time to show you were serious about her and that you all having sex together meant something to you, and it means you don't sleep around. Why would she automatically know that about you if you had not stated that right away, when it doesn't mean the same thing to so many other men? She tried to tell you that. No a-holes here. She did nothing wrong, and you are entitled to end things if you want to. If only they'd had a conversation before sleeping together the first time. So many things can be solved or prevented with a conversation.
I'm considering divorcing my wife because she can't get over her mom dying. Original post. Yeah, I know. Everyone is fired up at a title and ready to tell me what an a-hole I am. To those people, I implore you to read the rest of this post before making a judgment. My 36 male wife's 33 female mother passed away 5 years ago from lung cancer. It was not a peaceful or easy death. Our lives understandably went on pause after the diagnosis, and we both spent a lot of time off work helping care for her mother. My wife had a pretty typical showing of grief at a time, cycling through different stages. Same with our 3 kids. After she passed, however, my wife got really bad. I totally understand this. I can't say I know exactly what she went through because I haven't had a parent die, but I understand how devastated she was. For months after, she could barely function. I gently took over pretty much all the responsibilities of the household and with the kids. She had been attending grief counseling since the diagnosis and continued after the death. None of this is the problem. I endeavored to be as supportive as possible. She cried on my shoulder every night for months, and I just thought this was the worst of for better or worse. The problem is that, after 5 years, she does not seem any better or more functional. She stopped grief counseling about 4 years ago and refused to go again, stating that it would not help her and that nothing could. About a month before any major holiday, she will have a major downturn. In the bed half the day, crying all day, does not want to interact with the family, does not have the energy to do anything around the house. This will go on every single day until about a week after the holiday ends. Every holiday is intense grief, just as much as now as it was 5 years ago. October, November, December, and January, her mom's birth month, every year are particularly bad. I am essentially without my wife, and I'm a single parent to my 3 kids. Altogether, she's completely incapacitated by grief for about 6 months out of the year, and it's been the past 5 years. When I say incapacitated, I mean incapacitated. When she is in the depths of her grief, she's completely incapable of intimacy with me or the kids. There is no cuddling, spending time with us, going on family outings. I don't have intimacy for half the year. I've stopped asking her if she wants to talk about it, because she can't get any words out between sobs if she tries. What hurts the most is that the kids have stopped asking or being concerned. If they see their mom in bed when they get home, they just go about their day and might casually mention, "Oh, mom is sad today," if their siblings or I ask where she is. They don't really seek affection with her anymore because they rarely get anything more than tears. I've discussed this with therapists, my parents, friends, etc., and I know all the rebuttals people have for this. So let me preempt them. She isn't willing to go back to therapy for grief counseling or to see a doctor for depression. Yes, I know she's severely depressed. I can't force her to go to the doctor. I've tried so much. Yes, it really is just as intense as it was 5 years ago. No, I never tell her to get over it or blow her off. On my worst days, I just give her space and leave her be. Most days, I try to offer her some comfort. If you want to judge me for leaving her alone, whatever. But know that I feel like I essentially have caretaker fatigue at this point. No, she does not have a history of depression, but she does have ADHD. Don't know if that's relevant. I feel like my wife died when her mom died. I would do anything to get her back, even a small piece of her, but she doesn't seem willing or able to move on past her mom's death. I feel awful for considering a divorce, but I don't know what else to do. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. I'd make an ultimatum about getting help for sure. Her kids have also lost their mother. This is the most impactful thing I've read so far in this admittedly pretty new thread. She is devastated that her mom is gone. Imagine how her kids must feel that their mom isn't even gone, just doesn't want to be around them. Exactly. She has to find a way to keep living, or she's lost her past and future. 5 years is too much. You can miss your mom without giving up your life. You should tell her that things are coming to an end if she is not willing to at least try. I'm not normally a fan of ultimatums, but you may have to have a sit down on a not sad day. That may be difficult given the time of year. Based on what OP stated, that could be sometime in February. No, why should him and the kids face another lonely Christmas this way? She's being very unfair to them. It's not only her mental health being impacted, she is causing her children and husband misery by forcing them to live like that. She has a responsibility to each of them. Whilst, yes, she might be grieving the loss of the time spent with her mother, these poor children aren't getting any nice memories with her own. It's a complete tragedy. She needs to be shaken to her core and choose. Yes, she can choose to be miserable for the rest of her life, but she doesn't get to choose that for her husband and children. It's Christmas, and they should be enjoying it. Now for the first update. I just kind of threw that post together as a stream of consciousness vent on my break at work. I didn't go back and look at it until later, because I just assumed it would get buried since I've never had anything I post get any major attention. And honestly, I thought I was going to get eviscerated in the comments for being insensitive or uncaring. I was floored by the number of responses and really kind DMs I got, and felt a little overwhelmed at the idea of responding to them all. So I figured I would post an update here. A few people mentioned I should have her involuntarily admitted to a medical facility. I didn't mention in the original post, but I did ask our family doctor about that maybe a year ago, and he told me that unless she is a threat to herself or others, it's unlikely to happen. I looked this up myself as well, and that appears to be true for the state we live in. I do agree that she needs medical treatment. I suspect that during her year of grief counseling after her mom's death, that she was not honest with her counselor. I have a distinctly sad memory of her coming home after one of her last sessions and telling me that her counselor said she probably wouldn't need to go much longer. Then she went and laid down on bed and cried. I haven't been able to convince her to go back to counseling. However, I'm glad I posted on Reddit because somehow I hadn't really considered that she might need more intensive treatment than just counseling. I also saw one comment that scared the heck out of me, that she may do something drastic if I give her a divorce ultimatum. With those things in mind, I don't think doing that is the way to go. Instead, I'm planning to write her a letter explaining how we need her back, and that we love her and care for her deeply, but she needs more help than we can provide alone, and tell her that she needs to go to the doctor and be honest about what she's been going through. Thank you for your advice, everyone. Good luck. Grief is such a fickle mistress. I hope everyone heals and move forward. I worry I too may be like this about my mom when she's gone. I can see how much she loved her mom, but it just really sucks that it's preventing her from being a good mom. This is definitely not what her mom would have wanted for her. Literally all I could think of was that. Imagine how her children must feel to have wholly abandoned them in this way. Not through death, which is unavoidable, but simply because their mom can't muster up enough strength to fulfill her responsibility to be a mother. Those poor kids deserve someone so much better. My best friend lost her mom 3 years ago. Her dad passed away in 2006, so she's now parentless. She's the first of our friend group to experience loss of both parents. We are all late 30s, and it hit her hard. She would have panic attacks if she were left home alone. Had to be talking on the phone constantly. She was always crying, rarely eating, and what little she did eat came back up soon after. She was seeing a psychologist, therapist, grief counselor, and psychiatrist. She was on so many medications. She was either sleeping or crying 24/7. For about 8 to 10 months, I wondered if I would ever get my friend back. She refused inpatient treatment because of her newly developed separation anxiety. Her husband was also told they could only do inpatient therapy if she goes willingly or makes a threat to herself or others. Long story short, she took some advice to get a different psychiatrist. He slowly changed her meds, took her off of about 5, and set her up with TMS therapy. I truly believe that TMS therapy is what helped her most. It's essentially a mini brain stimulator to get the happy parts of the brain active again. It sounds like that may be something to discuss and research with your wife. I have my friend back after 2 years of her severe depression/anxiety. I believe your wife has been in this state for so long that she may not be able to recover without proper medical help. But there is hope. I've seen it myself. Best of luck to you both. Now for the last update. My soon-to-be ex-wife has completely lost her freaking mind. After my last post, I spent a couple of days writing the letter to her. In it, I explained that the kids and I love her dearly and that we're concerned for her. I outlined all the worrying behavior and told her that I believe she needs to seek additional medical care. I explained that it sounded like she had complex grief. Thank you everyone who pointed that out, and that the grief therapy she went 2 years ago was insufficient to help her get through it. I did not say anything about potentially divorcing her, but did say that the kids can't continue to live in their current situation. It was a long letter, and I don't really feel like transcribing it here. I read a letter to her the same night I finished writing it, after the kids had gone to bed. After I finished reading, she just stared right through me, 1,000 yard stare, for probably 15 minutes. Then finally stood up and started walking to the door. I panicked and tried to stop her, ask her where she was going. Can we talk about this? I'm concerned for your safety. She rolled her eyes at me and said in the coldest voice I've ever heard her use, I hope when your parents die, someone doesn't tell you to get over it. After that, I didn't try to stop her. I just let her go. I was mad for maybe 5 minutes before the panic set back in. I legitimately thought she was going to end herself. I checked my phone and she had turned her location off. I called and texted probably 50 times over the next hour, begging her to at least let me know she was okay and that she wasn't going to do something drastic. Right before I was about to call the police, I got a call from her phone. I answered immediately, and before I could get much of anything in, a man's voice told me she's fine, but she doesn't want to talk to you, and hung up. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience at a time. I had no idea what the heck was going on. I almost called the cops anyway, but I was disassociating hard and talked myself out of it. I kept calling her phone all night, but no one picked up again. After about 2 a.m., it started going straight to voicemail. I barely slept that night. When I woke up the next day, she wasn't home. I took the kids to school/daycare. I normally do this, but my wife is normally still asleep while I do. So thank God they didn't ask where mom was. I tried calling my wife's phone more all morning, but still voicemail. I called her office and asked if she was at work, and they told me she had called in sick. I called in sick to work as well, and basically just sat on my couch, trying to get a hold of her while being a nervous wreck. I called my mom as well and asked if she could pick the kids up from school today and watch them overnight. I didn't tell her everything that was going on yet, just that something had come up that was urgent and I needed some help. My wife walked in the door sometime after 4 p.m. I tried to hug her and she shied away from me. I asked her where she had been. No response, just a blank stare. I asked her who had called me from her phone. No response, blank stare. At this point, I was frustrated and told her that if she didn't want to explain what was going on, she could get the heck out. I regret saying it that way now, but holy crap was I frustrated. So she started talking, but it was like I was talking to a text-to-speech AI with her voice. No emotion, totally flat, almost annoyed. She told me that she had gone to her friend John's house. I had no idea who John was and asked her to explain further. Over a 2-hour or so conversation where I had to pry details out of her, I got most of the story. She was answering like a lawyer. Very basic answers, no details or context outside of exactly what I was asking her. Basically, John is a coworker. I've met the dude once or twice at office party type events, but never really talked to him. I never saw him hanging out with my wife or showing interest in her. But apparently over the last year or so, she has been spilling all her feelings about her grief over her mom's death to him, and he's been comforting her. He had a parent die from cancer too, so I guess she felt they had a connection she didn't have with me. After I read her the letter, she says she realized that I don't care about her or her mom's death, and went to John's house to talk/be comforted. I flat out asked her if she was having an affair with him, and she told me no. I asked her why she never mentioned she was close friends with this unknown guy, and she told me it's none of my business. I asked her if anything had happened between them while she was there, and she says they cuddled and he held her while she cried. I asked to see her phone to check messages between them, and she refused. I couldn't get much more detail out of her about the whole situation. So when she went to take a shower, I tried to check her phone. She had changed her passcode. I grabbed her iPad, which still had my thumbprint biometric signature in it, and checked there. I left the house with the iPad to look for evidence while she was in the shower. I did not immediately see any messages to her from a John, but after digging briefly, I found it. She had put him in as Stacy in her contacts, but it was obviously him. There were texts going back well over a year. A lot of her talking about her mom, a lot of him comforting her. A lot of him telling her I don't really care about her, and that he would never treat her that way if they were married. All of her replies were in agreement. A lot of texts from her complaining about me. A lot of him trash-talking me. The night she left, she had texted him, "Screw it. I'm on my way over if the offer's still there," followed by an immediate yes reply. Then the next morning, a text from her to him saying if he asks, we just talked. I threw up out my car door in a Walmart parking lot for 20 minutes. I came home and found her on a couch on her phone, seemingly unconcerned or unaware I had even left. I told her that I knew and that she needed to leave. Again, she just stared at me for a while not responding, until I got aggravated and told her to get the heck out of the house. She immediately got up, told me John was right about you, and left. I haven't seen her since. I told the kids she went to visit her parents. I don't know what to tell them, but I have to tell them something soon. I don't really even know what to do. Ostensibly, I need to divorce her, but going through custody, child support, etc. is dizzying. I feel paralyzed and haven't made a move yet. I know she's lost her mind, and this is probably some kind of psychotic break, but I just can't care anymore. I put on a brave, numb face to go to work, then for my kids at night, and then cry after they go to bed until I fall asleep. I feel like my life is essentially over. I do feel like John took advantage of her vulnerability, but I don't even want to bother trying to get her to see that he's a predator. She chose this over her freaking family that is stuck with her. You should get your own counseling, talk to your mom, and then a divorce lawyer ASAP. You need to immediately get full custody of the kids. You don't want a situation where she shows up at school to take them to the doctor and dismiss them. Find out if there can be a mental health evaluation required for her to have unsupervised visitation. Get counseling for your kids. Work with a counselor and your lawyer to document everything about what your wife has been like, so that she can't accuse you of making it up. Move money around so she can't just withdraw everything. Put your credit on a complete and total hold so no new cards or loans can be taken out against you. I would get this done today, or first thing in the morning. Yes, protect your money. She's a major POS using her mother's death as an excuse for crappy behavior. I bet if you try, you will see red flags you missed. John is also a scumbag. It might encourage her to drain your accounts because you're so awful. They're horrible people and deserve each other. Thank God she keeps leaving him with the children, showing no interest in them. Ask for full custody, no child support from her. Just let them breathe without her wet blanket on a family any longer. Go live her life. Hope you figure things out for yourself. Their mom died along with their grandmother, but nobody knew it yet. You're the primary child care provider. He'll probably get custody, get proof of the affair, and go see a lawyer. He probably will, because she straight up walked out. It sounds like grieving in midlife crisis, to be honest.